Welcome to episode 31 of Excuse Me, I'm Speaking. This podcast is hosted by the one and only. It is me, it is she. You can call me Twinkle, call me SheIsTwinkle, or call me Antoinette. As long as you're calling my name, that's all that matters to me. Now that we're all acquainted, I must say that I am so happy to be back. Your girl was sick, feeling under the weather. I just wasn't feeling myself. And I'm the only host. So without me, the show actually does not go on. So I took a much needed holiday break for the month of November. However, I could not extend my break any longer because these celebrities out here just cannot catch a break. Okay, they have been going through it. They've been dragged through the mud from Diddy to Will and Jada. Then we have T.I. and Tiny. There's not enough time in the day for me to go through all of the details. So at this point, I'm going to just talk to y'all about what stood out to me and we will draw a conversation from there. So, to kick off today's topics, in the famous words of King Harris, I stand on business. Y'all heard it. Y'all heard it correct. I stand on business. Y'all, what does that even mean? You stand on business? Mind you, he was speaking to his parents. He was in his mother's face. He was yelling at his mama and his daddy, talking about, I stand on business. Does he not realize that he has Black parents? Like, what? Now, for those of y'all that have been living under a rock and y'all don't quite know what I'm talking about, it is all over social media. King Harris, which he is 19 years old, he had a quarrel with his famous parents by the name of T.I. and Tiny. However, this quarrel took place online for the viewing public. Let me give y'all my quick rundown of what had happened. Okay, so boom. We have Tiny and T.I. They are in a box office suite at an NFL game because T.I. is slated to perform. Their son also is in the suite with them. Mind you, this started off as a joke. He has been on his phone all day long on live and he's recording and he's saying whatever and nobody's checking him. He's out in public yelling at some of the football players, demanding respect for his city. Nobody's saying anything. I think he believes it's because he's King Harris, but really it's because his father is Clifford Harris, aka T.I. They don't want smoke with T.I., so they don't say anything to King. Okay, so at some point during this game, the family is hanging out in the box office suite. In this suite, they are having a good time. I think drinks were flowing, and family starts to joke around with each other. Sometimes you got to know which family members to joke with and which ones to not joke with, because sometimes the joke goes too far. So they are joking with King and they are telling him how basically he's spoiled and he was raised with a silver spoon in his mouth. King didn't take well to that. He said, no, I wasn't spoiled. I didn't want to be behind those gates in his gated community. I was at my grandma's house. My grandma raised me. They were like, stop fronting. That's not what happened. He said, that is what happened. I stand on business. Y'all know me. Don't play with me. I stand on business. So his parents are like, chill out. No, you didn't. You were very spoiled. The only reason you was at your grandma's house is because you cried to go to your grandma's house. They're still playing with him, but there's always some truth in jokes anyway. So mind you, King Harris, he is on live. So since the camera is recording, he's going to turn up a little bit more because at this point, it's like, y'all are embarrassing me. Dude, this is your phone. You could just turn the live off. But they keep going. So then King is getting really offended and he's like, y'all capping. It wasn't even like that. And my grandma raised me and I can stand up in any hood. I can stand up in your neighborhood, referring to his daddy. And he's getting loud and he's talking to them crazy. At some point, his mama took the camera and was like, y'all, he is playing. He had a privileged life. Only reason why he ended up over his grandma's house is because she would let him suck on a pacifier till he was 12 years old. Now, I don't know if she was joking or she was serious, but they don't see that he's really getting upset. King starts turning up even more so, and he starts getting a little unruly. Y'all don't play with me. Y'all already know what it is. Y'all know how I am. I stand on business. This ninja, da-da-da-da. Now, y'all know I'm saying ninja, but I don't really mean ninja. He was talking to his daddy saying that. And I'm like, if I said that to my saved and sanctified parents, I would not be here to record another podcast. You think I'm gonna call them a ninja? Are you serious? Okay, not about me. It's about them. Moving right along. So then Tiny gets in his face and tells him, you need to calm down. You need to calm down. He was just joking with you. You need to calm down. T.I. is telling him in the background, you need to stop. You're embarrassing yourself and you're embarrassing the family. Just stop. Just chill. But at this point, King has no chill. Y'all done revved him up. Now he is standing on business. He keeps saying, I stand on business, but he's talking to his parents. Now pause. We all know our parents. We know. He might be 19 years old, but you know your parents. You know that there is limits. You know when you're going to reach a boiling point. Before you get to that boiling point, you stop and you bow out gracefully. But once you start hitting nerves, you start leaning into disrespect, you start speaking to them like they're your little friend. Ninja, I don't know who you talking to. You may as well call it lights out. Are you crazy? So he kept going. Then he takes it a step further and he pushes his mama out of his face. Then she says, don't you ever put your hands on me again and I will knock you out. And then she starts cussing like, don't do that. Don't do that. Then at some point, T.I. is getting so frustrated, and then you done put your hands on your mama in front of him. Look, I tried to respect you as a 19-year-old man, but you pushing it. And then next thing you know, the camera starts shuffling around, and T.I. grabs him, and obviously from what the reports say, he was put in a chokehold, and the video comes to a close, unsurprisingly. There's a lot to draw from this. First of all, let me just say, every kid goes through this at some point with their parents. At some point, you start feeling froggy and you decide to jump. I was guilty of that in my teenage years. I stood on business and I messed around and found out. I was a teenager, okay? I wasn't 19, but there was times where I was like, well, shoot, I'm gonna get a whooping anyway, so let me say what I gotta say, okay? Like I had a little smart mouth, like if y'all can't tell, because it doesn't just go away, but I knew that I was adding fuel to the fire. Like I already knew I was gonna get in trouble, so let me just make it be worth it. It's never smart. You mess around and find out that wasn't the play. At 19, you should know by then to bow out gracefully. This ain't the time or the place, and your daddy is really about that life. Since then, he has taken to Instagram, and a lot of people, everyday people like myself, as well as celebrities, have had something to say about this situation, and it is definitely not in King's favor. In the court of public opinion, he was wrong. He embarrassed himself, just like his dad said, and they should have put the pause on him a long time ago. Now, this is what the celebrities and the media is saying. I have not even fully given y'all my opinion yet. However, for me, it hit me differently once I saw that King posted captions on Instagram after this incident happened. In his captions, his real vulnerable thoughts were coming out. He said, if I was a mistake, just say that. Stop acting like you mess with me like that when we know that you really don't mess with me. That made me feel like this is a lot deeper than him just acting out and throwing a temper tantrum. He is literally throwing a temper tantrum, but it's for a reason. In every situation, there's a learning lesson. And in the midst of all of the chaos, you have to listen to what both sides are saying. So this leads me to 3 points. First of all, this is family business that should have been handled behind closed doors, period. Point number 2, everything is not for public consumption, even if you're a celebrity. In their case, they used to have a reality show with their entire family called The Family Hustle. King was a small child then. It's hard to tell him not to record their family moments with his phone when he didn't even have access to a phone, but y'all had a camera in front of his face. So he's used to getting opinions from the public, and he's used to y'all putting y'all family out there like that. That's what he learned. He learned that that was okay, so now he's doing the same thing. You're going to have to unlearn some things. Point number 3, there's obviously some deeper traumas that are occurring in this situation, and those things need to be handled privately. His Instagram caption said to me that he doesn't feel loved and he feels like he's not accepted in the family. He somehow feels like the black sheep. And the way that he views his childhood and his upbringing is totally different than his parents. And more conversation needs to happen. Now, something that stood out to me is that you see this with a lot of celebrity children. From Will and Jada's children, Jaden Smith and Willow Smith. We've seen the back and forth with Little Romeo and Master P. We have seen it with Russell Simmons and his daughter. We've seen it with so many different celebrity children. And people think that, okay, well, these kids were given everything. They literally had a silver spoon. They had all of the food and money and resources and luxuries that life could afford you. What could possibly be their problem? Their parents were busy. They were making money for them. But in this, I understand that there's no rule book to parenting. I get it. I'm a parent myself. I'm sure I'm not doing everything perfect. What I have learned is that kids need balance. You may think that you're providing for your children and I'm out here and I'm working and I'm getting it, but you not being there, you're sacrificing something else. If a child has grown up with material things their entire life, the material things hold no value to them. In some of those instances, they may have preferred for you to physically be there. The fact that he feels like his grandma raised him, that says something. Perhaps he missed out on quality time with you guys, or he didn't feel as loved, or he didn't feel like a priority in your life. And that is no slight to T.I. and Tiny. They don't have a rule book on parenting. You can't do it perfectly, but these are conversations that need to happen. And although you cannot change the past, you can take accountability for your actions in the past, and you can be intentional in the present to sow good seeds for the future. That's all I'm saying. In most of these cases, there's a disconnect. A lot of parents feel like, well, I'm providing for you better than what I was provided in my childhood, and you should be happy. However, providing for a child financially is not the same as providing for them emotionally, spiritually, connecting with them intellectually. Children need those things as well, too. They need that sense of security with you as well, too. Not financially, but just to know they have that connection with you, that you're there, that they have your undivided attention when they need it. I'm just saying. Now, something I have noticed, because there's a lot of people out there that's saying the kids these days, they are just downright disrespectful. What I do understand is that I'm a millennial speaking. There was a time in history where people stood firm on the fact that children are to be seen and not heard. Perhaps that was with our grandparents or our great-grandparents. Now, with that generation of children that weren't heard, they held a lot in. They had a lot of resentment, but they wouldn't dare say it to their parents. They will take it to their grave because in their eyes, they couldn't say anything because that's considered disrespect. So then that generation started having kids, and they let their kids speak a little bit more so because they weren't allowed to speak when they were children. So they opened up a line of communication. Their kids couldn't say too much. So then that generation of kids then grew up, and then they had their kids and they allowed their kids to speak a little bit more. Then the next generation grew up and they allowed their kids to speak a little bit more. So now we're seeing with every generation, they're a little bit more outspoken and a little bit more outspoken and a little bit more outspoken. Now it's okay to speak your truth, but it is the way that you say it, and you do not have to air out your family's business and name names and do all that and have it on camera. That is never going to go over well. There is a point where you need to bow out gracefully. It is one thing to speak your mind, but there's a point where you need to just stop talking. For the sake of everybody involved, when you feel like the situation is going nowhere, put a pin in it and pause and figure out a way how to come back together later, because it is going to escalate to disrespect. And that could be on both sides. There is a boiling point, and you do not want to get all the way to the boiling point, because then you have situations like this that occur and it spirals out of control. For their sake, with T.I. and Tiny, I hope that them seeing themselves on camera, this opened up some real dialogue to happen, and that some healing can really come from this situation. Now, I must say, the apple obviously does not fall too far from the tree, because shortly after, maybe like a week later, T.I. himself stood on business, because a lot of people have tried to capitalize off of this situation. A local nightclub in Atlanta, they had a party promoter that was out there and putting flyers out there that they were having a party coming up. They had a picture of T.I. and his son, with T.I. having his son in a chokehold on the flyer, and that's how they were promoting their party. When I tell you the party started, I believe at 10 o'clock, and T.I. showed up at 10 o'clock and said, "You don't know me?" Hint, hint, one of his songs. "You don't know me, don't play with me. I do stand on business. This is literally business. Y'all are not about to use me and my son's likeness and not pay us." There is nobody is about to walk into this party without y'all cutting a check for me and my son, and y'all are going to correct this disrespect. And when I tell y'all, if y'all look at the video online, T.I. went in there yelling. He had his posse with him, and he was like, nobody is walking in here. Y'all not selling not one drink. Turn off the music. I'm not playing. This is my city. Y'all are not going to use my picture and my name and my likeness and not pay me. I really am standing on business. Now, I tell y'all, the party did go on, but T.I. got paid. His son got paid. They issued out an apology. T.I. even stayed for the party and got paid to party at the party. Now, that is how you stand on business and you garner the respect that is deserved. Bravo to T.I. Yeah, that was a lot. It was a lot. I told y'all, these celebrities can't catch a break. That leads me into Sean P. Diddy Combs, also known as Puff Daddy, also known as the owner of Sean John Clothing, also known as Brother Love. Now, y'all, in recent years, he has changed his name to Brother Love, obviously for a reason. I'm not going to go into all the details, but y'all have to be living under a rock to not know that Cassie had filed a 35-page lawsuit against him for assault and trafficking and abuse allegations. It was long. It's a lot of videos out there on there. Y'all go watch and listen for yourself. And he quickly settled the next day. We don't know the figure amount. It is said to be anywhere between 8 and 9 figures, but he paid her money immediately to shut that down. Since then, it has garnered a lot of conversation in the court of public opinion. He also has had 2 more lawsuits for the same accusations. Yeah, I'm not about to go through the details, but what I can say is that this lawsuit was filed on November 16th. He settled the next day, November 17th. But the conversation didn't settle down. He stepped down from being the CEO of Revolt. Obviously, he's going through the mud right now. This was a civil lawsuit, so criminal charges weren't pressed. We don't know if these things really happened or if they didn't. There's a lot of stories out there, but what we do know is that P. Diddy has children. This was a holiday season. I'm not saying anybody is wrong for filing lawsuits. Get your money. If that happened to you, you deserve every penny that is deposited into your bank account. But I did feel for his children. Could you imagine? A lot of us out there, especially that are parents, you don't realize that your actions or the people that you deal with or even the business that you do, even if you had good intentions and especially if you have bad intentions, later on that comes to bite you in the butt in life, and that affects everybody connected to you. Most importantly, your children who are innocent. I felt so bad for his children because 3 of his kids are by the late Kim Porter. Their mother had just passed away a year before on November the 15th. The lawsuit came out on November the 16th. That is already a lot for them to still be grieving the death of their mother, but then to hear all of these stories on top of that, how awkward was their conversation at the dinner table on Thanksgiving? Like, how do you actually really enjoy the Thanksgiving holiday break? Then after the break is over, his kids have to go to school. Kids are going to be talking about this. They probably don't know who they can trust. I don't know what questions they're allowed to ask their father and what they're not allowed to ask. Do your kids really want to know the dirt? Do they want to know the real details? Or are they going to just believe you when you say, oh, none of this is true? There are so many stories and think pieces out there. It is just a lot. And I think that that's what a lot of people don't take into account when they're doing things as an adult, thinking that this is adult business. This ain't got nothing to do with my kids. Not realizing that it can affect your kids at the same time. So that's why I wanted to bring that up, because nobody is thinking about the kids at this point. I'm sending thoughts and prayers to them, and I hope with all that money that their father has that they are getting some much needed therapy and just support during this time, and that there's somebody that they can trust and lean on in these hard times. Because whoa, when your family is the topic of discussion, that's a lot to deal with just for us everyday people. So as celebrity children, that has to be on a whole nother level. So I feel for them. So I wanted to send my thoughts and prayers to them. Okay. Now, last but totally not least, I don't even have the energy to discuss Will and Jada at this point. All right. Jada done been out here selling her book and she done spilled all the tea. Now they're shocked that people are coming out with interviews with even more of their tea. They're filing lawsuits, whatever. In the midst of all this chaos, they still riding together. All right. They still said, we ride together, we die together, bad marriage for life. I don't get it, but they like it, so I love it. Now, y'all, let's just get this episode wrapped up with some quick streaming updates. First, in streaming updates, y'all have to watch Squid Games The Challenge on Netflix. It is everything. It stemmed from the original Squid Games, which if you haven't watched that, you should watch that too. Season 1 was amazing, and they are working on season 2 right now. But in the meantime, Squid Games The Challenge has come out, and this is the highest paying reality TV game show in history. Y'all have to watch it. I don't know if you watch TV shows like Survivor or MTV's The Challenge, or if you watch Big Brother, but this is the ultimate reality TV game show. And so far, I believe there are 6 or 8 episodes out, and the final episode should be coming out next Wednesday, I believe. So please check it out. It is so good. You won't regret it. Now, second in streaming news, if you watch and are a fan of the Power Universe on Stars, Power Book 4 Force is completely done with. Yeah, season 2 had a lot of wow moments in it. It is complete. If you are a binge watcher and you need to binge all 10 episodes, go ahead and watch it. It is every bit of worth it, and you won't regret that either. And last but totally not least, in streaming news, we have season 3 of Raising Kanan. That was Power Book 3. That just came out Friday, December 1st. Please check that out. The first episode is crazy. I am so excited about what the rest of this season will bring. If there's any really good tea, yeah, I might have to review it on my YouTube. We shall see. Anywho, to wrap this up with the quote of the day, as I always do, the quote of the day for today is by Rumi. The quote is, raise your words, not your voice. It is rain that grows flowers, not thunder. Yeah, I felt like that was so fitting. Raise your words, not your voice. It is rain that grows flowers, not thunder. It's not what you say, it's how you say it, especially if you want a good outcome. Don't be standing on business and then get shut down. All right. Okay. Yeah. I hope that y'all enjoyed today's episode. I had to get back on here for y'all. But if you did enjoy, please come back for my next episode of Excuse Me, I'm Speaking. As usual, follow me on YouTube at SheIsTwinkle, or follow me on Instagram at SheIsTwinkle1. Send me your feedback, your comments, like a picture or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. Until next time, love you all. Bye-bye.